wanted to film this video a couple weeks back, but the timing is still fine because we are 2 weeks, even less than 2 weeks away from the big show. And lots of stuff has been happening. Huge results of the PGA and the DGA, which made Anora the front runner to win Best Picture, which is insane, but also pretty freaking amazing. BAFTAs this past weekend, Brady got Best Director, we have more actor lock-ins, Conclave Best Film. But why this year is also insane, that separates it from other years, is the amount of controversy. I decided in the second or third week of January to delete Twitter, and that was the best decision I made. This isn't the first time I've done this though. For example, I would either delete it or just leave it on my phone and not touch it for a couple days, but I always found myself back, especially during award season, because I would always want to stay in the loop. Not this time. I got the fuck away, okay? And still have through all this award season. So it was hilarious finding out all this drama via Instagram and YouTube, because those are two apps I really do love and I find it harder to stay away from. People are horrendous all year round, but people on award season is a different breed. It's a different species. I find it funny that everyone's joking that A Complete Unknown or Conclave could win because they're the unbothered nominees when Nickel Boys is right there. I'm happy Sean Baker is getting his flowers. I would have loved to see that love and recognition for Red Rocket though, gotta say that. But Anora is my number 3 film of 2024. I'm excited to rewatch it next Saturday. Officially, 2024 was a stacked year, even though the Best Picture lineup, in my opinion, is a bit more on the weak side, specifically with 4 films on there. But also, like I mentioned before, this year had the famous C word attached to it, controversy. And I feel one of the biggest ones is the Brutalist and the AI controversy. I'm just gonna say 2 things. First, I will link a great article that covers this head to toe. Have your opinions after that, but get the facts straight. I will link Dan Morell's YouTube video, which is also great, covering all this. When it comes down to a T, I would not have used the AI for the Hungarian accents. I understand it's a hard language, but let it be what it was. I don't think they should have messed with that. However, I don't like the other arguments people are making about the film in regards to AI. Mainly the word AI. That has become this buzzword when it has existed for years and can be an effective tool. Also, this was a $10 million budget film. It is not like they hired someone and then fired them to use AI where they used AI. I just don't like the reason The Brutalist is now being ignored by members of voting boards. I have also fallen in love with this film so damn hard after a second viewing, so it's kind of a gun to my head choice that I want that to be the Best Picture winner at the moment right now. But if it loses to Nickel Boys, Anora, or The Substance. That's it. Anyways, so much for quick introductions. I apologize. I tell you all of this because every year brings up the conversation of not just about the Oscars getting worse every year, but the famous things people say about the Oscars. Oscars suck. Who even watches this nowadays? Forget award shows. I didn't even know the Oscars was on today. Oscars this, Oscar that. There's actually a great video titled Why the Oscars Suck by a channel called Sir W, and it makes great points detailing the birth of the Oscars, the history of it. It's a great video. I think you guys should check it out, and it really inspired me to make this video as well. I even understand the opinion of why do we hold award shows for art when art is subjective, but in a perfect world, the core of this is the celebration and the recognition, plus majority rules. You ask yourself why certain films are some of the greatest films of all time, and you ask yourself why does a majority of people love it? Doesn't mean the minority is not going to exist of people who hate these films that is loved by the majority. The way these things are decided is through majority rules. I'm here though to give you what I think is the main problem with the Oscars, and from that octopus will explain its tentacles that have different specific points, and I actually have 8 reasons, which is funny because it wasn't my intention for this to be an octopus. The Oscars have been getting poor viewership every year, even though last year we saw a bit of an increase, but it's still low compared to how it used to be. And why is that? Because the Academy doesn't love movies. They do not care about movies, and they do not cater to the people who truly love movies. They do not cater to the cinephiles and to the award buffs. They care more about getting the attention of the 18-year-old on their bed scrolling through TikTok. They care more about memification, virality, the OMG slay moment, which we can have a healthy balance of all this, but that's the key word, balance, which is something you will hear. But even a healthy balance would be 80% film, 20% miscellaneous, not the other way around. We prioritize the cinema. So we begin with the first tentacle, not televising all 23 categories. TBT to that, guys. This was decided in 2019, and then the Weenies reversed the decision after understandable intense backlash. They said they will not televise 4 categories, which were cinematography, fucking editing, makeup and hairstyling, and live action short. You think they learned their lesson with this? Nope. nope, they actually went through with it in 2022 for the 94th Oscars. Not just 4 people, they doubled that shit to 8. And what is the main problem here they're trying to fix? The length of the show, which we will get to. That's the second tentacle. So the 8 categories they decided not to show anymore was documentary short, film editing again, makeup and hairstyling, original score, production design, animate short, live action short, and sound. To add the cherry on top of the sundae, they forgot the sprinkles. They want to put more pizzazz. Add the banana, the fudge, the caramel, and the fucking sundae. Remember when they did this to Joe Walker? Joe Walker that night won for best editing for Dune. And the Academy live updates on Twitter, so they posted the title cards on there. And here it is. The Oscar for best film editing goes to Dune is big, Joe Walker is tiny, film editing on the bottom, right? In comparison to what they did to Hans Zimmer and all other winners. And the Oscar goes to Hans Zimmer's big, Dune is tiny, original score on the bottom. They posted the big one at 7:22 p.m. March 27th, the day of the Oscar. And of course, people were calling them out, reasonable, but they didn't fix it until 1:11 p.m. on March 29th, 2 days later, 2 days too late. That leads us to the second tentacle, the runtime issue. 3 hours, more than 3 hours. I'm just gonna flat out and say it and quote the infamous iCarly Principal Howard character, tough kumquats. These shows are long. Can there be a way to shorten it? Yes, but it's still not going to be short. It's not gonna kiss 2 hours. The problem isn't the runtime, it's the utilization of the runtime. And how does the Academy choose to do this? They choose to prioritize performances, aka musical numbers, prioritizing more time for jokes, either from the host or stage bits presenters do. And again, there's nothing wrong with this, but prioritize what is the most important thing here. But you know, let's hear it from 2019 to 2022 Academy President David Rubin when addressing his decision in cutting these 8 categories. Pulled out a bit of sections that I feel like is very important. We realize these kinds of changes can prompt concern about equity, and we ask you to understand our goal has been to find a balance. There's the magic word, in which nominees, winners, members, and viewing audiences all have a rewarding show experience. In order to provide more time and opportunity for audience entertainment and engagement through comedy, musical numbers, film clip packages, and movie tributes, a change in the show's production will take place. Every Academy branch and award category is indispensable to the success of a film and vital to this industry. Both our challenge and our goal is to create an exciting, streamlined Oscar show without sacrificing the long-held fundamentals of our organization. You did exactly that by eliminating them. You didn't give them the prime time to accept their award, give their speech. You sacrifice the main thing. This is completely hypocritical and it contradicts everything it's saying. More examples of cutting time, cutting speeches. I remember they even did that to Guillermo del Toro when he won Best Director. And he was like, yeah, nope, I hear the music in the background, but I'm still gonna give my speech. Let every single winner from each category have their moment on stage. The Popular Film Award, do you remember that? That was also pulled out. However, it reincarnated itself in the Golden Globes with Cinematic Box Office Achievement. Let it sink in that you're winning an award for winning the most money when that's an award in itself. Another one was when Flash won the Oscars fan favorite movie moment, because they may have pulled out the Popular Film Award, but they decided to give an award for the most cheery worthy moment and fan favorite moment. And you know what? There's not enough ice cream in the sundae. Let's add one more thing. Do you know what they decide to do in 2020 just so they can anger people even more? Besides the memoriam being absolutely insane, the happy music and the speeding through the memoriam, they decide to change the order of Best Picture and Best Actor. And the fact that Chadwick Boseman passed away that year. If you weren't even going to give him the award in the first place, it ended up going to Anthony Hopkins. Why would you change the order? You had an opportunity to not just award the best performance of that year, you also have an opportunity to give a nice tribute. What was the thought process behind that? Who sat in that board meeting room and said, yeah, this is fine, or just didn't question it? Third tentacle, small changes are felt. What I mean by this specifically, there were no more actor clips last year. They instead had previous winners give a little speech to the nominees, and I really like that. However, I do think it's still important and more impactful to show acting clips from the film. And not just that, if you're trying to cut runtime, that probably takes longer. The little speeches. There were awkward pauses, wrong timing with the camera, you know, just mistakes, things that can go on naturally in a show. If you're already going to cut through a runtime, what's a couple more minutes adding the actor clip in there? Fourth tentacle, the not funny jokes, specifically 2 that I keep hearing, and they need to be stopped. First one, movies being too long. I'm sorry you have the attention span of a squirrel. Fix that nut. And 2, didn't watch any movies. You're part of the voting board. There's something funny about you not watching any of the movies and being clueless about all the nominees. Fifth tentacle, tokenism. The politicization of things is a huge conversation, but my main point here is the genuineness. The Oscars don't change until they are called out. And their actions for progress are more a gold star, pat on the back to myself, look at me, I'm a good noodle, more than actually caring about the issue at hand. That's why they can never win in this, and I can sense their frustration because it's just performative. It's a flash of a hand in the face, like, hello, hey, I'm not this, I'm not that, look at me. And they didn't do any good research, and they don't really care. Sixth tentacle. Nominating a film for every single category. Wicked and Amelia Perez are the two biggest examples. I finally watched Wicked a couple weeks back, and I can take that imaginary duct tape off my mouth and have an opinion because I really do stand on the ground that you have to see a movie before having an opinion. That's why I can't mention another film on here. Just because a film is good in one category doesn't mean it's good in the others. This is where I feel the Academy's lack of watching all the movies comes in, because they start just filling in things, putting little fillers in each of the nominees when there are other movies that deserve a spot in these certain categories. For me, Wicked only deserved 3 nominations. Best Actress, have not stopped thinking about Cynthia Erivo. She's the film, she's amazing in it. Best Production Design and Best Costume Design, that's pretty much it. But 10, especially for score, for editing, I don't remember if they got cinematography. Now, I'm not much of a La La Land fan either. I think there are a couple of nominations that I don't think La La Land should have got. They got the famous 14, which I think is the same as Titanic and some other films. I'm gonna bring you an example that you're probably be like, you're so biased because you love this film. However, I'm not that biased because I do disagree with one nominee out of the 12 they got, and that's The Power of the Dog. Yes, we always mention The Power of the Dog. Best film, absolutely should have won. Still hurts to this day. Best Director, yes, and she won, thank God. Best Actor, should have won. Best Supporting Actor. So here's the one where I do disagree on one. Kodi Smith-McPhee, absolutely my choice to win. I love Jess Plemons. I think he's a great actor, but specifically in this film, I didn't really see it nomination worthy. Best Supporting Actress, yes, Kirsten Dunst, I think that is deserving. Best Adapted Screenplay, should have won. Best Cinematography, should have won. Best Film Editing, should have won. Best Original Score, should have won. Johnny Greenwood. Best Production Design, yes. And Best Sound, I will argue on that. I feel that we mostly see films like Dune, whether it's sci-fi or action, that tend to get the best sound, and the quieter films where you think sound isn't that big, there's great sound there. The mixing and the editing there. Now we're getting to the 7th and 8th tentacle, which are my 2 favorites. The actor and actress debate, which stems into 4 specific sections and a little maestro mention. You'll see. The first section is the infamous overdue Oscar. Leonardo DiCaprio is a good example. Should have won for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, won for The Revenant. I love his performance in The Revenant, but he was long overdue. Will Smith should not have won for King Richard, has a great track record, should get nominated for other performances. Benedict Cumberbatch should have won that year. Gary Oldman, long overdue. I think he was 66 or 60 when he won this. Should have been Timothée Chalamet's Oscar. I also hate the overdue Oscar because when someone does win where the performance is great and they're overdue, because of the Academy's history of this, people will use this argument and say, oh, they're just overdue, and discredit a great performance. I think there are situations where it's a great performance of the year and they're overdue, which the first reason is because it's a great performance. Then we can just sprinkle that they're overdue on there, and that's totally fine. But when it's just overdue, no. Too young, the famous age. Kodi Smith-McPhee is a huge example on here, and I have someone on record for the infamous brutal Oscar ballot that comes out every year. I like Kodi Smith-McPhee, but I'd like to see a larger body of work from him before we honor him an Oscar. We'll get back to that. My tongue is itching right now. Number 3, Erasure of Horror and Grand versus Little performances. Naomi Scott is a huge example. Lily Rose Depp from Nosferatu. Neil Tiger Free from The First Omen. So many great performances in horror last year, and it's always ignored because I feel that they blend in the film with the performance. You're not nominating the film for Best Picture, you're just nominating the performance. And then Grand versus Little performances, I'm never surprised when I hear, oh, why did Divine Joy Randolph win last year? She didn't really do anything in The Holdovers. How was Paul Mescal nominated after some of the movie was so slow and boring? What did Kodi Smith-McPhee do? A lot, actually. There's nothing wrong with the screaming and crying. There's some of the great performances out there where they're breaking down, giving it their all. But the quiet, subtle performance are also giving their all, so much that it feels so natural and blended into the film that you forget that acting even exists. And I think that's some of the best performances ever, where it just comes out flawless, maybe even timeless. I think a big example of this was Drew Starkey in Queer for me. And the 4th one, too many Oscars. Adrian Brody already has 1 Oscar. Cate Blanchett in 2022 already had 2 Oscars. What is the overall point to all this? It is about this year and nothing else. Nothing else matters. What is the word before all these category titles? best. And if we separated it every single year, then all that matters is the performance of this year. Why do you need to see more body of work of Cody Smith-McPhee to decide if he can get the Oscar for his performance in The Power of the Dog? You're looking at his performance in The Power of the Dog, nothing else. Overdue Oscar. Why do you not give it to them in the time where they deserved it? Too many Oscars. Who cares if they have 5 under their belt? Some brutal Oscar ballots also said that about Cate Blanchett, that she already had 2 under her belt. Okay, so what? She gave the best performance of that year, so now she has 3. If they're too young, okay, if the 5-year-old gave a better performance than the 60-year-old, then they gave a better performance. That's all that matters. And that's all you should go into the criteria, paying attention to that film, to that performance, nothing else. Now, I want to give a little mention to Maestro. It doesn't really connect to this, but it just got me thinking about it. In Maestro's defense, I appreciate wearing your heart on your sleeve and wanting to win an Oscar. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to win an award, getting recognition. It feels good. Ask yourself if you're in acting or anything in the entertainment industry. It feels good, it feels nice. And there's nothing wrong with also being sad if you constantly lose. There's a difference between a sore loser. There's nothing unprofessional about feeling sad or wanting to win an award. However, where I disagree with Maestro, if you do a project and all it stems from is to chase the statue, most of the time, and I mean 99.9% of the time, it's not going to be received well from audiences. It's going to feel superficial. It's going to taste sour. It's going to sting when we touch it. We're not going to feel your passion. We're just going to feel your desperation for an award. As cheesy as it sounds and repetitive as it is, you have to do these things with love for the art, for the job. The awards come along with it. You don't do it for that. Our last tentacle, guys, to complete our octopus, we can swim away from all of this, the voting process. And I mentioned this before, they don't fucking watch the movies. And let me give you some examples because they go on actual fucking record and say this. This headline is just so great. Brutally Honest ballot number 3. Couldn't get through Drive My Car. So how are you gonna vote and know if it's a good film if you didn't even finish it? Let's continue to the ones that don't finish it as well. This was one about Causeway. I watched most of Causeway, but it was too slow, even though Brian Tyree Henry is incredible in everything. Causeway's an hour and 32. Let's say you watch 40, because 40 minutes classifies you seeing a feature-length film. You still got 50 minutes to go, my guy. Even if you have fucking 5 minutes left of a film, you can't make up your mind until you finish it, until those ending credits. It's your job. Yet, the common public is actually beating you to it. I swear to God, I didn't imagine this. I swear I read it, but I can't freaking find it. Someone in a brutal Oscar ballot said that they didn't want to watch The Triangle of Sadness because it included sadness in the name and they thought it was going to be a sad movie. The vibes are just, oh, I'm friends with James Cameron and I love Titanic, so I'm going to vote for Avatar 2. What does one have to do with the other? Okay, guys, our octopus has swam away. He's finished. You're probably asking yourself, why am I so passionate about this? The channel that took out Why the Oscars Suck Now really contradicts what I'm about to say because the birth of the Oscars is actually pretty sad. Let's just picture a perfect world, okay? Let's close our eyes and picture, you know, the society would look like this meme? The institution of the AMPAs is to honor film, is to celebrate the film and the film's artists. Everyone who goes into it, the entire team. And they're doing everything but that. The biggest example was the first tentacle that I started with. It's a night of celebration of movies about cinema. That's the Sunday, and then you add the toppings on there, which is extra, but your base is cinema, and it doesn't feel like that. They're just gonna sink lower and lower. Viewership is probably gonna go up, but for the wrong reasons. I have to go now and catch up on all the nominees because I really try my best to see all of them. Here we go. Let's see who wins. We still got the SAG Awards this weekend. Okay, that's all. See you next video.